Look how cute it is. It's like one of those little camera things that people put on key rings. It is tiny. What's up guys, my name is Cornelius Franklin and today we're talking about the Canon EOS M50. So let's just get the boring specs out of the way. The sensor in this camera is a 25 megapixel sensor, but it has an effective something like 24 megapixels. The edge ones, basically, none of the light hits those and it can use that for cancelling out noise. That's why the actual megapixels is higher than the effective megapixels in cameras. It can video in 4K, but I wouldn't recommend it as you lose access to that incredible dual pixel AF that Canon is famous for. You can shoot 1080p in both 24 or 50 frames per second. You can shoot 120 frames per second at 720p. 720p, pretty useless nowadays, but some people say that's useful, so I won't be using that because I have the GH5. Yeah, so boring specs out the way. First thing you'll notice about this camera is it's very small. You can almost disappear it into your hands, which it's got some pluses and some negatives to that. The first negative is the fact that it's quite hard to grip in your hand to do some stuff. The benefits to that is that it's quite inconspicuous and you can walk around vlogging, filming yourself very easily and kind of disappear into the background. As with something like the GH5, which I never thought I'd say this, but the GH5 feels like a monster in comparison to this. Yeah, you draw a lot more attention. People are just like, what is that guy doing? He's crazy! As this, it just kind of disappears. Things I really like are the monitor. The monitor is brilliant because it's big. So the monitor is still a 3-inch, same size as on the GH5, but in a much smaller body, which is really nice. Things I don't like, this EVF. This, in photo mode it's okay, but when you change into video, it's pretty unusable. It's something like 15 frames per second. You can, yeah, it's not very usable. And it's very small and hard to see anything through. But, you know, tiny camera, £600, really nice. Other thing we've had to do. So, the battery and the SD card both go at the bottom here, and to get to it you have to open this door. But I have these quick release plates on all my different cameras and camera equipment because I can just drop it in, clip it in, nice and fast, take it from glide cam straight into there, balanced from that onto a tripod, onto something. As long as I've got the right lenses on it, it's all in balance. But for this camera here, because of that door position and the fact that you have to have access to there, I've had to basically slice a massive section out of this. And now it works fine. So let's talk about the autofocus. The autofocus in this camera is awesome. I mean, just lifting up a camera and you're in focus, spin it around to somebody else and they're in focus. It's just so quick and so usable. So the camera I had previously to this one here was the GH5, and the GH5's continuous autofocus is pretty useless. That's what I'm filming on right now, and it's kind of set focus and forget it and hope for the best. As with this one here, the autofocus is incredible. Yeah, it's just super nice. So actually filming with this is a lot of fun. It's nice and small, compact, and a really powerful tool. And then when you move into editing that footage, because it's quite small, I was surprised. So I filmed a long talking section, and with this camera here, this whole video is going to be about 32 gigabytes, this talking headshot, because we're shooting 10-bit 4K on the Panasonic GH5. There's obviously the bitrate is going to be smaller, so you can't color grade it so much. But this here, this same shot would only be about 5 gigabytes as opposed to 32. And that means I can edit it a lot faster and that sort of thing. So that's kind of partly why I wanted to get this one, is simply editing speeds are going to be a lot faster. It's nicer. The autofocus is great. You can just lift it up, push the button, start recording, speak to the camera, say your words, and flip it over, turn it off, chuck it into the computer, edit it super fast. So that is kind of why I wanted to get this one, and it is a lot of fun to do that with. So in terms of picture quality at 1080p, it's really good. It's not going to win any awards for sharpness or anything like that, but it is definitely usable, definitely better than GoPros, than what you can get out of your phone. So this here is definitely a massive step up from that. Is it comparable to the GH5? No, but its autofocus just blows the GH5 out of the water, and that's kind of why I'm using this here for vlogs and behind the scenes sort of footage now, instead of using the GH5. So speaking about that, let's go do some videos with this. Let's chuck this onto the Ronin, which actually is quite hilarious because this is so tiny and the Ronin's massive. Chuck this onto the Ronin and shoot a B-roll. So yeah, you can see the image quality is really nice, and that's just with the kit lens. I think we shot most of that at 14mm on here, which this is aps-c, so that's slightly tighter than that. I don't know what the crop factor is, who cares? Anyway, let's just change these two over quickly and see what it's like in kind of like this studio setup here. So we are now on the Canon M50, which is looking good. So I've actually had to chuck on the room light because it's a little bit dark in here. I was shooting with natural light outside, and you know, it's getting dark. We're in England, clouds coming over, so yeah. And it's doing a pretty good job. We're at ISO 240th of a second, which is a little bit low, but I'm sat still, so it's kind of okay. And that autofocus, it's just keeping muggins here nicely in shot and focused, which is really nice to have. So in this video I've talked a lot about the positives of the camera. Let's take a little look-see at the not so positives, the negatives of this camera. So number one, the internal microphones suck. You are gonna need to get a microphone. They are really bad. Listen. So this is what the in-body sound sounds like on it. And microphones aren't that expensive. They're like, you can get one for £100, under £100, really nice, high quality microphones. Number two, the EVF. The EVF, it's okay for photos, but as soon as you change into video, nope. Number three is it has no IBIS, which is kind of annoying for such a small camera. It is very lightweight and difficult to shoot handheld video on anyway. And without any IBIS, it's very difficult to do it, especially as it hasn't got very great slow motion. It's only got 50 frames per second, which it kind of works. And you're only doing 1080, so you don't want to chuck too much warp stabilizer on it. And as it's so small, you don't want to go and get a gimbal, or it's targeted more for beginner filmmakers who might not necessarily have a gimbal, so it would have been nice if they had put IBIS into this camera. So who is this camera for? It's kind of for people who are just getting started in filming and photography, or are wanting to move up from their phone, or like myself, who want a secondary camera to something like the GH5, which this does an amazing job of. It is also for those kinds of people who need great autofocus, vloggers and stuff like that, and don't want to splash a lot of money on something like the Canon further up line, some Canons. And its autofocus is incredible. So yeah, it is for those people. If you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and we have videos coming out on photography, cinematography, that sort of thing every single week. So if you like that sort of thing, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment down below if you have any questions on photography, cinematography, or if you just want to say hi. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.